Hey, welcome back to another episode of Because I've Healed. I'm so excited to have you here today. And today I'm really excited because I'm recording this podcast right after we just finished my first ever group healing container. It was the Ancestral healing container that was focused on being able to tap back into our ancestral lineage to heal some of the trauma and drama that occurred, to tap into joy and then to be able to move forward with confidence, knowing that we've strengthened the connection with our spirit guides, spirit team, and ancestors so that we can actually create and live the life that we've been dreaming of. And it was super powerful. So, right after this intro, I'm going to tell you everything that I've learned from it and what I think will help you next. Welcome to Because I've Healed, the podcast where we talk about shaking the chains of expectations placed on us by the world. My name is Asha Wilkerson, and I'm a former high-achieving attorney and college professor turned healing-focused life coach for Black women. Each week, I'm bringing you a life lesson that started with healing. Not only will I explain the chains I was able to break, but also the success I experienced after. Let's get to healing. All right, let's get right into it. There were three major lessons that I learned from this ancestral healing container. And the first one is that the messages from our ancestors aren't actually as tragic as we think, particularly for us Black and Brown folks. So I don't know. I keep talking about this, but I think it's so important to understand, especially if you have grown up in the United States as a person of color, if you are a Black person, or if you are a Latino person, or someone who has immigrated to the United States, or your ancestors immigrated. It's so important to understand how we learn about ourselves. So, as a child, learning about Black people in the United States, it was always framed from this perspective of inferiority. My ancestors were brought over from Africa. They were enslaved. They weren't considered people. Then they were considered three-fourths of a human and couldn't vote, and all of this stuff, right? We know the tragedy, we know the history. And so, subconsciously and really consciously as well, I learned about myself and my ancestors through the lens of whiteness, which meant that it was never equal to white folks. It was never equal to the mainstream, to the dominant culture. It's been generations and generations of my ancestors that have had to fight to be seen as fully human. And because that's the majority of the history that I have learned over time, my assumption was that as I was diving into this ancestral healing, that it would just be full of trauma and drama that needed to be released. My father didn't come from the most loving family, like at all. My mom has her own history of being the first Black woman to enroll in the University of Mississippi. So there's trauma that's been talked about in that kind of a situation. So I was fully expecting to have this like deep, challenging, heavy history of trauma and drama. And when I did an ancestral reading for myself, that wasn't the only thing that showed up. And when I did the ancestral readings for the other women in the group, that wasn't what showed up. Even though we know that in the history of the families, there was struggle, there was sacrifice, there was death that occurred, could be abuse, just fighting to be able to survive. But so many of the messages that came through were about the strength of our family members, were about what our family members want for us today, about things that we can let go of and that we don't need to continue to move forward with. And probably most amazingly, we're about the gifts that we have inherited from our ancestors, not just the tragedy, not just the drama and trauma, but what our ancestors want for us moving forward. And so what happens is it ended up being a really empowering and healing situation and container for everybody that was involved. And a couple of people in the group kept saying, Asha, I just kept replaying the ancestral tarot reading that you did for me especially when I would feel challenged throughout the week, especially when work got tough, especially when I felt like I had to battle the work that I was doing and the self-care. And I kept coming back to the message of what my ancestors want from me. And I just felt like that was so, so powerful because so many of us in present day, myself included, have really felt like we need to right all of the wrongs that our ancestors suffered, that so many people have sacrificed for us to be here today, and that it's almost disrespectful if we tap into the joy that's available and present for us, or because they've sacrificed, we have to continue to carry that heavy burden and heavy load. And some of that may be true, but there's also so much joy and so much happiness and healing and good that our ancestors want for us as well. And so, although we did spend some time going back and thinking about what needs to be released and what patterns and behaviors and thoughts and feelings no longer serve us, we spent a couple of sessions just tapping into joy and tapping into release and tapping into happiness and tapping into the vision for the future and really putting on that cloak and that energy of love so that we could move forward. And I'm saying we because even though I was facilitating the breathwork sessions and the conversations, I definitely got my own healing from being able to facilitate this process. And it was absolutely incredible. So again, the first lesson that I learned is that the messages from our ancestors aren't as tragic as we think that they are, but it requires you to jump in and to create space and to have a conversation so that you can hear and receive the messages that they have for you. So if you're curious, definitely embark on this journey. The second lesson that I realized from this ancestral healing journey is that witnessing others and being witnessed is so powerful. Oftentimes we think that we are the only ones going through the situation that we're going through. It's taboo to talk about, or if we talk to our family members, they'll just think that we're complaining, or we should just be happy to be where we are, and if we want more, we're ungrateful. Whatever it is, there's often a feeling that we cannot share, and because we don't share, we often feel like we're the only ones in our exact situation. But there are so many people who are experiencing things very similar to what you're experiencing. And sharing out has two benefits. One, you get to be able to share your own story and you get to be witnessed and validated. But two, you also get to listen to other people's stories and their revelations and their messages, and you can take what rings true for you and apply it to your own life. Just yesterday in our last session, part of the feedback was, wow, I got so much from the breath work, but also from the conversations that we had afterwards. I learned just as much from all of the other women in the group as I did from you, Asha. And for me, that was like, oh, that was like gold to hear because I'm just facilitating. I have my advice and my wisdom and my intuition to offer, but there's so much richness that comes from just being in community with other people. And so while there are times to dive in and to work on yourself by yourself, there are also other times to engage in a group, engage in a community so that you know that you're not alone. You are never the only one who's experiencing what you are experiencing. And as much as it is personal to us, patterns and behaviors and family dynamics are not unique to us. They're important to us. We feel like we are the only ones who are going through them because it is our life. And of course, we're the most focused on ourselves. But with all the millions of people in this world, there's no way that we are the only person that is experiencing what we are experiencing. And in order to normalize some of these feelings and just to validate some of these feelings, the witnessing and being witnessed is so, so important. And the third lesson that I'm going to share with you today is that healing is just as much about looking forward as it is about looking backwards. So we did a lot of the release work to release old trauma and drama that we no longer want to carry with us. But yesterday, for our closing breathwork session, I really led folks through the process of envisioning the future. What does your highest self want for you? What does your divine inner being want? What do your guides and ancestors want for you? If you could imagine, if you could dream any situation for yourself, what would it look like? How would it feel? What would you do? What would you wear? How would you be? How would you show up? Where would you be? Who would be around you? All of that. And in order to do that, I also asked people to let go of what no longer can come with them as they step into that vision. And that allowed people to feel really light, because ancestral healing, again, is not just about going back and reliving the trauma and reliving the past, reliving the things that are so heavy. It's not about that. It's also about taking the lessons and the well wishes and the desires of our ancestors and bringing them forward with us so that we can live out the dream that has been put inside of us by either our ancestors or by the divine or by ourselves that we want for ourselves. So it's not just about going backwards. It's definitely not just about sitting in that space of heaviness, in that space of pain. It is also about creating what it is that you want in the future. And in order to do that, you need both. You need to let go of the past. You need to learn from the past. You need to reconcile the past. And you need to have a vision and step into what you want to be in the future. So both of these things go together at the same time. I am so proud of all of the women that joined the Ancestral Healing Container. They really gave it their all. They were engaged in the WhatsApp group. They did the journaling exercises. They showed up every week for the breath work, and they definitely got the results that they came for. In another podcast episode, I'll share some testimonials from them and the changes that they noticed for themselves. They still have to send out that last survey to be able to get that data. But everybody just reported feeling really, really good. And at the very least, they reported feeling proud of themselves for taking the time once a week to show up and to do something just for them. Everybody got something different. Some people were just processing where they are and how they need to reconnect with themselves to be able to internally regulate. And there's a lot of concern about not passing things on to children. And the message for this one person in particular was focus on yourself. Do the things that you need to do first, because then your children will benefit. For somebody else, she kept getting downloads. I mean, she would get up in the middle of the journaling, in the middle of the breathwork sessions and start writing in her journal because she was getting downloads and messages from her spirit guides and ancestors as if they were texting back and forth. And for another person in the group, the messages that she got were really to be more curious about her parents and her family members that were living now. And it wasn't just about going back to the past, but it was also about creating a new understanding right here in the present moment while she has access to the people that helped to create her, the people that she loves and that she cares about. So everybody got something a little bit different, but everybody got exactly what they need. So if you have any inkling, any desire to work on yourself, to release some things from your past and begin to create your future, then I definitely want you to reach out to me and see how we can work together. Now, I'm not doing a group healing container until probably about January or February. So feel free to get on my email list if you are interested in doing that. You can go to ashawilkerson.com/email and join my email list. But also, I am offering one-on-one sessions. Here's why you should strongly consider working with me one-on-one before you join the group sessions in January or February, whenever I restart them. In the one-on-one intuitive healing container, my focus is 100% on you. You get all of my attention so that I can give you exactly what you need and exactly what your guides and my guides are telling me that you need in this moment. So let me explain how it will go. Before each call, we'll work together for 4 weeks. And before each call, I will meditate and tap into the energy that you are carrying with you. Every time I do this, I close my eyes, I think about the person that I'm getting ready to read for, and I get downloads and I get messages. For me, I typically feel them in my body. It'll be a sensation. Sometimes it's a sensation in my head. Sometimes it's a flutter in my heart or some butterflies in my stomach. But when I ask my guides, what is this trying to tell me? They always tell me. I always get something. And even though it may not make sense to me as I'm feeling into it, every time I get on the call and read for somebody, it resonates with them. And from there, once I tell you what I'm feeling in this moment and what I'm reading from you, then you will tell me how that resonates with you and what it is that you want to work on. This could be anything from manifesting your next career, to leaving a relationship, to strengthening the relationship you have with yourself, to getting closer with your ancestors and opening up your spiritual world. Anything that comes up for you, we will work on. And based on that, I will make a recommendation of what we will do for the rest of that session, whether it's a Reiki, energy clearing, or meditation, or some journaling, or just some old school coaching where you have some thoughts that are standing in your way of the actions that you want to take. And I will use my coaching skills to help you reframe what you're seeing and you're experiencing so that you can take the action that you want. And this 4-week container is an awesome time frame because it's short enough that it's like a sprint. You can get in there, go deep, go hard, and you only have to focus for 4 weeks and you will undoubtedly see some results, whether that's a stronger connection with your guides and your intuition, or action that you're taking, or feeling more relaxed and less stressed, or having more clarity about your future and your vision for what it is that you want in your life. It's also short enough that you won't get burned out because it's just a quick sprint. You can take a break after our 4 weeks, decide how you want to move forward, and then come back for more sessions as you need them, or join the group healing container in January or February when it reopens. Everybody that I have worked with and that I have read with for intuitive readings has said that the readings have been spot on and that I've been able to offer some guidance that they just hadn't been able to access before. So I am inviting you to join me for one-on-one healing for 4 weeks. You can go to ashawilkerson.com/register and you will see 2 options where you can pay in full. The full price is 1111 because angel numbers, so $1,111, and you can pay for that in full, or you can break it up over 2 payments, 1 payment each month, so that you can make it affordable and accessible for yourself. All right, I think that is all that I'm wanting to share with you right now about the feedback from the Ancestral Healing Container. I really want to help you make the changes that you are looking for. I want to help you get deeper connected with yourself and your intuition. I want you to be able to access your spirit guides. I want you to be able to have the divine support that you are looking for and that you need so that you can make the changes in your life that you are ready to make. This healing journey is not easy at all, but I do want you to remember that it's because I've healed that I've been able to change the way I relate to people in my life and create better relationships. It's because I've healed that I've been able to leave expectations behind that no longer serve me. And it's because I've healed that I am now living my dream life out loud with no regrets. You can do the exact same. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. The best way to keep in touch is to go to my website, ashawilkerson.com, and join my email list. If you'd like more information about this episode that you just listened to, head to the show notes and you'll find all the details and all the links. See you next week.